The awkward pink card.
Well, good morning. We're here for our happy Wednesday morning Board of Commissioners meeting. It is Wednesday, July 24th.
Is that a question?
2024, I think. And it's 9 a.m. We're here in the Commissioners Senator hearing room. And as always, we start with the Pledge of Allegiance, so if you will join us. Troy was standing already. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Frog.
Huh? Got a little frog, me too? What?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden, I'm trying to say the pledge, and it's right there.
So, Commissioner, we have three items that we need to adjust or add to the agenda this morning. So we'll take care of that business, and then we'll do public comment.
Yeah, I make a motion to update item number 4 on the consent agenda under the Board of Commissioners to appoint Anna Jefferson in place of Gina Corson to the Marion County Law Enforcement Association Health Insurance Study Committee. And to add an item to the consent agenda under the Sheriff's Office, approve the incoming funds intergovernmental agreement with the City of Salem to provide adult in custody work crews and supervision for the city. And to add an item to the action agenda under juvenile, consider the ratification of the Marion County Juvenile Employee Association collective bargaining agreement for 2024 through 2026.
I'll second that motion. Any further discussion? Just checking. That's okay if we do that all in one motion, Council?
It is,
Well, there's an and, so
and
somebody
yes.
must have said it was.
yes.
All right.
Okay.
It's all in the motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So public comment. We have 3 people this morning signed up for public comment. I don't know if you all want to come up together. We can pull up another chair over there. Victoria, Eric, and is it Bree?
Yeah,
Yeah. Is that short for Brianne?
Brianna.
Brianna. All right. My daughter's name is Brianne. And just introduce yourself for the record, please. And take it away.
You're just talking to me.
I know. My name is Victoria Meredith. I am the president and one of the co-founders of Soaring Heights Recovery Homes.
Eric Razor, Executive Director of Soaring Heights Recovery Homes.
Bree Hatchell, CRM of Soaring Heights Recovery Homes.
So we wanted to come in here today. Well, that's good. We have said thank you for all that you guys have done with Soaring Heights, and we wanted to come and do a personal thank you, as I've been watching this online, and I've noticed that could be done, and I didn't realize that. So what I'd like to do is if I could bring these up to you, or to you.
Legal counsel.
Let me hand them.
You can keep talking.
Okay, so what we have been able to accomplish through Soaring Heights has been, because when we first started in 2018, we had a home, but it was transitional housing, and we were able to house individuals, but our goal was to own the homes. In December of 2022, Soaring Heights Recovery Homes was awarded the funding and the grant for the CDBG grant that the commissioners okayed for the Oriole House. Since then, the Oriole House has served 41 individuals to date. That includes the 8 individuals that are there right now. 14 children have been returned to parent from some sort of alternative care. And 25 individuals have located some sort of stable housing. If you notice on the first page, when we first took over Soaring Heights, it had a lot of work that needed to be done. There were yellow walls in there that were not very appealing or warm, The carpet that had been there had already been there for almost 5 years, and Lord knows how long it had been there before. So we took some of the money that we had been able to save because we weren't paying a lease, because now we own this home. And we completely did the walls. A bunch of us got together and painted the walls, and then we had another wall repaired in one of the bedrooms that we had made a bedroom, and it was just a flimsy wall, so we had that repaired as well as brand new flooring throughout. And what I can say is that I never realized when you pull carpet and you go back in there's a huge difference.
Yeah.
And it was amazing, as well as it's now very welcoming when you come in that home. The stairs are now, there's no carpet on the stairs, there's no carpet anywhere. One of the first things we did after we received the funding in 2022, we bought a brand new washer and dryer because we had had 3 to 4 from 2018 till then. And they were always used ones, and what we know with that is they don't last much longer. So they now have heavy-duty washer and dryers that have been able to withstand large loads with kids and, large amounts of clothes. We were also able to buy a brand new couch and love seat because the couch that was in there was it was very heavy and very old, and we couldn't even move the couch. They literally had to come in and break it up to get it out. So, and then there's more pictures. In 2023, about a year ago, we were awarded the second, that you guys okayed the second CBDG grant that we were able to purchase what we call the Robin's Nest, which houses 7 women with or without children. In that time, we have helped 23 individuals to date. 6 children have been returned to parent, and 10 have located some sort of stable housing. The first 9 months of that, because we took ownership in May, and then we were awarded the award to purchase the house in July. So for the first 9 months, though, the Robin's Nest could not house 7 people because there was a lot of construction that needed to be done on the interior. And so now we've been able to house all 7 with or without children. What you'll notice in the pictures, there's a before and after, because the backyard was nothing but dirt. And there was no AC in that house, so the first summer was pretty hard, pretty rough. But they managed and they made it through. We were able to get an award for the share grant through Pacific Source, which allowed the funding for the completing of the construction, as well as a fenced backyard now, so the kids can go out and play. It's secured. They have a new lawn, new windows, because this house had I've never seen. It was, they were bad. You could push on them. So they have all new windows. And we had RV-style refrigerators when we took over that house. They were already there, and the doors were falling off of them because I don't think RV refrigerators are supposed to be used on a daily basis. But now they have new refrigerators. So as you'll see through the pictures, all the new stuff that has been added to it, and all of that would not have been able to be done if it wasn't for securing those homes that you supported us on. Another positive outcome that I wanted to bring up is the Oriole house always had what we called an E-bed, but we couldn't really use it because it wasn't able to. We used it off and on if we absolutely had to, but since we've been able to redo everything in the Oriole house, we have now been able to help 8 other individuals throughout this time to either come into one of our homes, or this young lady here has been amazing at getting them somewhere secured so that they don't have to be out on the streets. None of this could have been possible without, without the funding.
Is this where we just yell, "We love you, Victoria"?
Well, you guys have made 2 houses, 2 homes. And what I can really say is that the women in these houses today, you see a transformation in how they want to take care of things, how they react to the difference of where either they came from and or having to be there when all that construction was going on. It was a lot. But they made it through it, and now they see a difference. And I just want to say thank you personally for everything we do.
Of course I have comments. So for those that don't know what Soaring Heights Recovery Homes is, it's an addiction recovery family community space. And I don't actually know when I met you. I think it was potentially when you came to ask for money the first time.
2021, I think.
Yeah, that was my first year as a commissioner.
Yep.
I know you talked a lot about your homes and you've talked about the women, but Eric, do you want to talk about the men? On the record, on the microphone?
So we do have a one men's house as well. It's, we call it the Falcon House. It's out in Southeast. It's a smaller house, so it houses 5 men with or without minor children. And we basically have the same program with the men as we do with the women. And it's really been nice to see the men in the transformation that they take in those houses as well. To see the fathers that come in that realize that they can have their children in that house. We have had some successful reunifications with men. They co-parent. It's just been really great. It's like the 5 men that we have over there right now, they're just doing super amazing. They're coming from, I think, SOAR, LEAD, CODA, drug court, and all 5 of those men are employed. Almost all of them are working at the same place, actually. Woodcrafters.
Oh, great.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think most of them are looking for permanent housing right now. So it's been great over there at the men's house.
You all do, I think, God's work,
Yeah.
frankly. I don't think I know.
Totally is.
And Eric, thanks for talking about the locations of service that the guys came from. Because I think one of the things that the world misses most, and Commissioner Cameron and I were talking about this yesterday, when we were reviewing with Chris and his team at Management Update, the upcoming CDBG home allocations that we're going to be distributing. And you're receiving another home through that process. This Board of Commissioners specifically really invests in loving people up. That's not fancy policy wording. It's not that other counties and other jurisdictions don't do that, but we look for ways to invest in permanency and sustainability. And the program that you run is proving to be sustainable, and it's creating a permanent investment in the betterment of Marion County. So thank you for coming here today to say thank you to us, but truly thank you to you. Because if it wasn't for your hearts and your willingness to stand forward for this really hard work, these lives wouldn't be changed and these children wouldn't be home. So keep doing what you're doing, and I'll keep finding you money, because I think we only need more transitional living homes. I don't believe in institutionalization, but I do believe some people need to be institutionalized. I think sometimes a reckoning has to happen for oneself to be able to recognize what they're missing out on life. And you really are the next step for that. I know you've taken people off the streets.
Yes.
I know you've taken them straight out of the jails. I think not many understand how difficult that is as a provider to be able to navigate those individuals' needs, but you're doing it really well. And I'm grateful that you are doing it.
Thank you. Thank you all again.
Yeah, it is God's work. that
It is
you're doing.
God.
We understand that. But I'm looking out here in this audience. I'm looking at you, and I'm looking at this audience, and I see the commander over here from parole and probation, and I see the sheriff, and I see our health department, and all these things that and I heard you mention SOAR.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're going to talk about Anna Jefferson here in just a second on something else, and all the people, juvenile departments here, the press is here, and hopefully he can get the word out about what this organization and many, many organizations are doing to make a difference. And I hear criticism that we don't do enough at Marion County for homelessness and the things that are really needs in our community. But this is an example of how people work together to change a life. It's not the money we gave you, it's the life that you changed.
Yeah.
And you know, we all know we don't need millions of dollars to live. We just need people who care and that can help us, you know, get a job and, you know, work. We're created to work. And when we get a job and we start to earn money and we get our families together, we have hope. Mm-hmm. And that's what you're doing, is creating hope. And I just want to thank everybody who's in this room that is connected, even the assessor, he's sitting there. You know, how he does his job, that how it relates to the taxes that we bring in and that this community contributes to the things we're doing. And these are federal dollars that we've awarded to help these things going on. And we didn't have these dollars. I want to thank Commissioner Carlson, former Commissioner Carlson.
Janet Carlson.
And her and I went back to the feds and you know, we started this thing, I don't know how many years ago.
2018, and it became active in 2021.
Right, these dollars and how they're impacting our community, but more importantly, how they're impacting somebody's life and making a difference in their life. So thank you for coming forward and sharing the physical things, but also the human impact that you're making.
Trust me, I could sit here and tell you all about the ones that have gotten their license back, got cars, got 5 that have gotten their certified recovery mentor certificates.
We're hiring for
They're-
mentors.
Yeah, I know, and that's, we send them. But I mean, and then like right now, out of the 20 that are in there, 19 of them are working, and 2 of them just came in last week, so that's the beauty, is getting them back into our community, back into society
Giving
and
back,
living.
yeah,
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 and it's beautiful to watch.
great.
Commissioner,
Thank
would you
you.
mind if we just grab a quick photo with them and their handouts? Right, you just
Oh,
come
right.
forward.
John, I think John's back there.
If not, the
Yeah.
sheriff's here. He's got a phone. Come on. You can cry at lunch.
Get inside.
Yeah.
Everything is ready?
Yep.
Here, 3, 2, 1.
Good job.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, and I didn't mention Chris, but he's sitting here from Community Services, whose department runs this whole program. And Mr. Dickey, who explains it to us, and like I always say, just give it to me in hamburger flipper terms, right? I can
Or
understand
actually,
it.
what he says is, don't build the clock, just tell me the time.
Sheriff, no, he's shaking his head. I used that on him the other day. Okay, all right, that was great. Okay, we have a couple presentations. We'll move on. First one is from the city of Detroit, and we have Counselor Denny Nelson here, and I think, Chris, you're going to come up with him. And it's about their reader board. I guess another thank you type thing, right?
Morning, Commissioners. I am not Kelly Weiss.
Right.
I am a poor substitute for her, but I'm here because she is unable to be here. So I want to introduce Denny Nielsen. He's a city councilor for the city of Detroit, and we provided a grant to the city of Detroit to the tune of $20,000 through our Emergent Opportunities grant program. And it was for the funding of the installation of a reader board, an electronic reader board, which helps identify their community to the traveling public as they go through. So with that, I'm just going to turn it over to Denny, and he has a small presentation for you.
Thanks, Chris.
Welcome, Denny.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Yeah, speak into the microphone, please. I know. Thank you.
You know how many times I tell people to do that? and
I'm
then I
sure a
forget
lot,
myself?
sir. I'm sure a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm delighted to be here this morning to provide a follow-up on our project, which actually, the genesis for this project developed pre-fire when the Detroit Lake Business Association was still active and vibrant within the community before it was destroyed. Had amassed a certain amount of cash, which ultimately provided about 60% of what we needed for the project. They transferred those funds when they became inactive to the Detroit Lake Foundation, which emerged post-fire. It was interesting to me as a member of the foundation board as well to find out that they had thought about something like this in terms of being able to educate, promote, advise, alert in the city well before the fire. And so to follow through on our original goal, we developed a team through the foundation that included Jamie Dabrowski, myself, Keith Owen, the president of the foundation, to have a look at what might be done. As we worked through the initial steps, it became apparent rather quickly that the $60,000 bill as a bid from Salem Sign was a bit more than we could afford, and that's when Commissioner Cameron, as a member of the board, suggested that we might work with Chris and his staff to see what might be available for the county, which ultimately ended up, as he mentioned, a $20,000 grant. So we worked with a whole variety of partners. Initially, Keith Owen and myself met with the Lehman family who owns the property in Detroit and discussed the possibility of removing the T-Rex of communication in Detroit, which was the old dilapidated fire burnt sign that resided on that corner of Forest and Highway 22. The family was tremendous in terms of their interest and willingness to provide an easement for the use of their property in perpetuity, so it runs with the land. It's not something we have to worry about losing over time. See if, there we go. There is the sign that we replaced. Obviously, this was an issue to try and transform this highly trafficked corner from the fire-stricken scars to a more beautiful, informative representation of what we could do in Detroit in terms of trying to provide information. Salem Sign worked through a number of iterations in terms of what we might expect for the budget we had. We ultimately landed on what you see on the right. Our goals are to increase the exposure by visitors traveling through, communicate upcoming events, safety management, and beautify, as I mentioned before, the fire-stricken corner on the main thoroughfare in Detroit. And the end result is what exists today. We're still in a learning curve in terms of trying to find a cadre of people who are interested and imaginative in terms of how we can use this product to inform and educate the public. But it's working well now, and I think we have a staff that's interested, and we have some social media wizards within our volunteer community who are going to help us as well. And I think most importantly through the process is that without the help of all of these folks, the Lehman family, as I just mentioned, the DeLabra, the business association who provided the funding along with the Detroit Lake Foundation, we couldn't do anything without Chris and Kelly, who have been in our back pockets with many projects over my 2.5, 3 years in the council. Sawfell Greggs provided a pro bono easement agreement for this. Owen Construction provided services at no charge for trenching and excavation. All Electric provided a very reasonable price for their work. Salem Sign, again, I had worked with them for a number of projects during my years at Salem Health and afterwards, and they were just terrific to deal with. Our staff at Detroit couldn't be prouder of how they've embraced this and taken on. And the foundation provided the money without any strings. Detroit, City of Detroit will be responsible for the operation and maintenance. The Consumer Power provided us the pole at a cost of $1 so that we could have immediate access to power with a short run from the pole to the sign. And it will be nominal in terms of the cost of running that sign over time. The other thing that's very interesting about it is we can access the sign as long as we have internet anywhere in the world. So for those who are going to maintain this opportunity for education, it doesn't matter where they are. and we have a lifetime commitment from those who provide that service at no cost. So I'd be happy to answer questions, and thank you so much for your help.
I don't have any questions. I just think the first thing that should roll up on that sign, this is kind of unfortunate, is to tell people to sign up for emergency alerts. Because we're in a fire season right now, and there's a fire across the lake. And I think people are anxious for notification, but if they get the fire alerts sign up on their phone, or all emergency alerts, and you can go to our emergency management website to get that information, it should just be on that sign rolling, so people do it, and then they don't have to call the sheriff's office so often.
Yeah, and I think it's a great point, Commissioner. You know, we had a little fire that broke out behind Detroit in Lynn County last night, yesterday afternoon. And Denny, I think I live up there and really appreciate all the things you do in the city council and heavily involved. But I noticed the font the other day, the speed limit's 40 miles an hour. People go through there at 55, 60.
Or
I'm looking
faster.
at the sheriff. Yeah, I remember seeing one of our guys out there one day over by the storage unit, I think it was Casey, just popping people going through there, and I'm going, good for you, Casey. But my point being is that I think, Commissioner, what you just said, people going through those emergency alerts or sign up for emergency alerts at this location, I don't know how you get that message up there and people driving through, but a lot of people are going through the canyon and they don't have that,
Right.
On their phones. But I think that's a great place to start, especially with the fire season that's going on, see how we can use that. Well, this weekend you got something big going on. You got the Santa Ana Music Festival, right?
Exactly.
Third annual.
I think, yes. it
Third or
is.
fourth annual
Yeah.
Santa Ana Music Festival up there, and there'll be a lot of people coming up Saturday for that. So that'd be a good time to have welcome to Detroit emergency. I don't know. We can figure that out. It's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Well,
Chris?
I'm glad it's there.
I'll
Thanks
pass
for
it
making it
along to our
happen.
staff. Thank
Yeah,
you.
Yeah.
thank you for putting this together and helping them do it. It's another example of wildfire recovery and things that are happening to help us
Enhancement
come
of
back.
economic development.
We certainly won't get into the sewer system or the septic system today.
Sir, I am working on that with you. We are
We're-
going to get it done. We're going to get it done.
All right.
We will.
Thanks,
With or
Denny.
without DEQ?
Yeah.
That's the governor's problem.
QED,
Indeed it is.
change the name. Quick education done.
Yeah. okay.
QED. All right.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Denny.
Nice to see you.
All right, we have another presentation. Larry is here, and Irene from Travel Salem. Welcome.
Thank you.
Good
Good morning,
day.
Commissioners.
Good morning.
My name is Larry Rupp, and I'm an Economic Development Specialist here at Marion County. I'm joined today by Irene Bernards in lieu of Angie Villery, Chief Strategy Officer of Travel Salem. In 2024, Marion County approved a 2-year grant agreement with Travel Salem, retroactive to 2023, to support marketing and visitor promotion, tourism efforts coordination, and destination development. Within that agreement, Travel Salem provides written and verbal reports to the county summarizing their activities. With that, I'll turn it over to Irene. Thank you.
Gary's helping her get that.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners, and I'm going to do a little plug for Alaska as well. Our CEO, Angie, is stuck in Florida and was flying Delta. And so I'm filling in for her today.
So choose Alaska.
Yeah. So she has
Noted.
switched over to Alaska. She'll be home tonight, but it's been crazy. Anyways, thank you for having me here today. I wanted to go through, I'm actually covering a quarter 1, 2, and 3 because the funding that you generously gave to Travel Salem to promote the region was retroactive. So I wanted to go through some of that. If I can figure out how to use that. Okay. So we produce a visitor's guide every year that covers Marion and Polk County as well as Salem. And we produce 120,000 distributed to over 800 locations throughout Oregon, Washington, British Columbia, and California.
And this guide includes all of the amenities and attractions and resources from throughout the two-county area and Salem. And this is completely funded through advertising and fundraising. We raise about $90,000 a year to produce this guide. And hopefully you see it around town. If there's anywhere you are and you don't see it, definitely give me a call and we'll make sure it's there.
I remember not seeing it at Portland Airport, and I called Angie, and I don't know if we got it up there or not, but I said, we need that up there.
Yes, it's in the Welcome Center at Travel Oregon.
It is now?
Mhm.
Good.
Yes. Yep. We started an economic development consortium. We found the need to really make sure we were communicating with all of the chambers in the area, as well as economic development work that's being done in the area. One of the things that we tackled was lodging and helping different chambers and entities in the area really position themselves, and we created an Excel sheet that showed all the available property for lodging, and we connected all of those folks with potential developers, and they now have that information as far as like improvements that have happened to the land, photography, all of that. So they are ready to just hand that information over to developers. It also helps us because when we get the call from a hotel that's interested in potentially coming to the region, we have that information for the whole region to give to them as well. Our next consortium is September 19th.
So is that just a one-time event or is it an ongoing?
It's ongoing. Yep.
How
it's
often? How frequent
quarterly.
is it?
We have them quarterly, and they travel around the two-county region. So our next meeting in September is going to be in Monmouth. An update on commercial air service. October 5th, Avelo launched 2 routes from Salem and from Las Vegas and Burbank into Salem. They announced addition of Sonoma County in February, and those flights began May 3rd. As of April, I don't have the latest numbers through June, but as of April, 25,000 passengers had been through the Salem airport. And Avelo tells us that this is their best launch to date out of the 35 markets that they represent. And we do have visitor information there. It's the first thing you see when they get off the plane.
Yeah.
Some social video and social media content, video, as well as we focus on Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. These are, I'm not going to read through all of these. I know I have 10 minutes, which I'm trying to get through quicker. But these are all of the locations that were covered throughout the Marion County region, and they saw 653,481 views year to date. I really encourage you, if you just occasionally even, because I know you're really busy people, look at our Facebook, Instagram. It's really impressive of the area we cover. I think we've actually gone through this slide with you before, but wanted to show it again. This, we have a geofencing system that can track visitation throughout the two-county region. And Salem is in the beige color, outside Salem is in the blue. And this is just to give you a feeling for that the whole region working together is what makes this a true destination. Anything in, if you can see on the vents or on the left-hand side in yellow, you know, Ironman, it just happened this last weekend. It's probably our largest event, but you can see that Winchou Tulip Festival is actually huge for the region, as well as St. Paul Rodeo, Oktoberfest, and many other within the county. And then on the right-hand side, you see the actual attractions. And really the attractions of the region are what's driving visitation. Without the ability to promote the Detroit Lake and the Silver Falls and the wineries within the region and Woodburn and the premium outlets, we would be missing a huge market for our area. So the region's vital for what we do. Just really quickly, there's a lot of colors and bars here, but Marion County is really doing well as far as hotel occupancy. The yellow bar represents 2004, and there's only 2 other counties ahead of Marion, so we're third in our region, which is Washington and Clackamas, and they have a lot of business travel. So the fact that we are, third in that and really holding our own. And then Lane is right there with us. I'd like to remind people that this is my marketing side. I've been doing marketing for years for Travel Salem. It's really hard to compare Salem to Eugene.
We just don't want you to.
Exactly. Because we need to remember, Lane County has an ocean. Lane County, all their hotels fill up with one football season. And I'm really proud of the fact that during COVID and since, the mix of what we offer here is so much more than what they offer. That's just my competitive spirit coming out here.
Keep being competitive.
And I'm just really proud that we're right there. Some of our marketing highlights, again, on our Facebook and our PR, it's huge. We pitch stories constantly. We have a quarterly PR gathering of absolutely anybody who wants to be involved. But all the chambers are there as well. We ask them what's new, what's coming down the pike, how can we pitch what is happening in your area to try and get you some stories. Some of the stories run within 90 days. Some are 6 months to a year away, but this is some of the coverage that we secured during Q1. And then Q2, everything from the Kaiser Holiday Lights Parade to a restaurant in Woodburn to Silverton, the Oregon Garden, Silver Falls. And you can see here the reach. It's really hard for us to judge the reach on social, but on PR, as far as print and digital, that reach, for instance, the last one there, 4 million. And if we were to purchase that coverage, it would be $24,000, but it was free. And then third quarter, Gordon House, Silverton Pet Parade, Mount Angel Sausage Co., the Oregon Garden, Kaiser Rapids Park. And then we were in Forbes magazine for Brighton Bush Hot Springs and the North Santiam River. So I just really encourage, if you have any ideas on great pitches that we can do, I'm all ears to hear those too. We continue to help with the Resilient Headwaters group. For this coming fiscal year, we're contributing another $20,000 towards their work. They were able to work on 28 new trail systems, water access, and 12 programs to improve recreation in the canyon. Our destination development person is very involved with this group. This just shows how close the canyon is to 90% of Oregon residents, and so we want to make sure that it is known as one of the recreation hubs of Oregon. And then they're also working on new trail design, inventory analysis, marketing materials, and concept plan. This is a crazy map that just shows all of the trails throughout that area, which is
Not all
insane.
developed. They're old trails that they're working on developing.
Yes, old trails they're working on developing. And then this, you can't see this, but this is really what I'm excited about. This is an Excel spreadsheet of every trail and what it offers visitors. Is there parking? Are there restrooms? Can you kayak, picnic, camp, any amenity you ever want to see? And so this is really great for us to have so that when we're pitching this area to folks, we can tell them exactly where to go and what amenities are there. And there's over 80 of these tracked. And with that...
Does it list mountain biking?
Yes, it lists mountain biking, if you can have bikes on the trails or motorcycles on the trails, which some of them you cannot.
So I'm looking at legal counsel to see if there's any trails up there that he's ridden.
He can't even see that. I'm giving him.
I know. It is.
Can you, Commissioner?
He's a big bike guy.
How's that?
In fact, there was a bike in Matt's office, and what's his bike? No, that's Scott's bike. Yeah.
So yeah, if you can
Okay.
take a horse on the trail, all of that is listed there. So it's really detailed information.
Cool.
And with that, I'll take any questions you may have. And thank you so much for your support.
Yeah, I think, appreciate the canyon promotion. I mean, there's so many people going up there, and we've got challenges on infrastructure. Still, we got to build the businesses back up there, and appreciate you promoting that and the wildfire recovery up there. And I noticed on there the number one tourist attraction is still the Woodburn Outlet malls, right? Wow. I wish we could get TOT tax from something up there.
Yeah. In our two-county region, it's the Woodburn Outlets and Spirit Mountain.
Yeah.
So if we're getting all that traffic there, we need to get them out throughout the county to other
Yeah.
places as well.
Yeah, no sales tax from visitors.
I think that we should figure out a way that when you're entering into the Woodburn Outlets off of the freeway, this isn't for you. This is for traffic. To make a light up sign around the right turn is permitted without stopping. Because I swear to God, people just think they have to stop there.
Right there.
And then it backs up over the overpass.
Yeah.
Like, it's right there, in black and white. But nobody
Right.
sees it. Lonnie's like, in the back of the room. I don't even think it's our sign, Lonnie, but it could be improved.
Well, thank you, Irene. Appreciate your service and what Travel Salem does for the entire community. Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm interested in the Chamber Summit. Could you send me some information on that?
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Absolutely.
Not that I have time to be there.
Well, I was
but I'm
just
still
looking at my
interested in it.
calendar, the 19th, we got AOC District 6 meeting on the 19th
Yeah.
September. So we're already booked.
Thanks for
Can't get to
coming.
that.
It's nice
Yeah.
to see you.
I'll keep you
Great.
posted.
I'm glad you're rested from the Ironman.
Larry, thank you.
It looked great.
Oh, it was
Appreciate
a huge success.
I
so.
followed Roger Hoy
Oh, good.
on the map. There's a little link, and
Yeah.
I got to follow him all the way through his race, which was awesome.
It's impressive.
Yeah.
Really impressive. So.
From my house, by the way, I got to follow him.
This is the first year I stayed away, and we didn't have to stop a train
Or
lower the river.
Lower the river.
You know what? The train did come through at 8 o'clock, and I tracked down someone from the railroad and woke him up and was
Good.
all panicked. And he's like, "Nope, that's the last one. You're good." And I was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right,
Oh, geez.
thank you. Okay, we're going to go on to our consent calendar.
All right. I move to approve under the Board of Commissioners a board appointment for the Mental Health Advisory Committee, an order appointing Christina McCollum to the Marion County Health Advisory Committee with a term ending June 30th, 2028. A board appointment under Marion County Law Enforcement Association Health Insurance Study Committee to approve an order appointing Anna Jefferson as a voting management representative to the Marion County Law Enforcement Association Health Insurance Study Committee. Approve an OLCC application for Utmost Inc. DBA Take a Break Market in Salem, Oregon, and Silverback Estate Winery LLC DBA Silverback Estate Winery in Salem, Oregon. Under Health and Human Services, approve amendment number 8 to the incoming funds intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Health Authority to reduce funding in the amount of $6,509.22 for program element PE 51-02, regional partnership implementation for a new contract total of $10,543,158.78 through June 30th, 2025. And under Human Resources, approve an order to provide cost of living adjustment compensation for non-represented Marion County employees. Under Juvenile, approve the renewal of the Oregon Department of Human Services application for license for the Guaranteed Attendance Program, otherwise known as GAP. Under Public Works, approve the contract for services with Wheat LLC in the amount of $524,610 to provide street sweeping services for the East Salem Service District through June 30th, 2027. And under the Sheriff's Office, approve the contract for services with Sandia Memorial Hospital and Clinics in the amount of $600,000 to provide hospital and clinical services to adults in custody at the Marion County Jail, retroactive to July 1, 2024 through June 30th, 2027. And approve the public body work order contract with DPI Security, Inc. in the amount of $404,352 to provide unarmed court security for Marion County courts through June 30th, 2025. And finally, approve the incoming funds intergovernmental agreement with the City of Salem in the amount of $900,000 to provide adults in custody work crews and supervision for the city retroactive to July 1, 2024 through June 30th, 2026.
I'll second the motion. Any further discussion?
No.
All right, hearing none. All those in favor of the consent calendar signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that's done. First item under action is the assessor's office. This has been a long time coming. to consider approval of an ordinance to allow eligible properties to be subject to a special assessment pursuant to Chapter 94 Oregon Laws 2024, Senate Bill 1545 in the 2024 session, and declaring an emergency.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, I'm Tom Rolfing, Marion County Assessor. And as you said, we have before you an ordinance, comes from Senate Bill 1545, which was passed this last year. And I think we'd be the first county to put this in place if you choose to. So this ordinance will help get people some property tax relief, a special assessment program for rebuilding their homesteads that were lost by the 2020 wildfire.
We got a presentation yesterday by Nate and staff, and I think we understand this, just the background and history. This is the second, see, we tried this in 2023 and it got stuck in, I think, Ways and Means or someplace over a political issue. And I want to thank the legislature for getting this through to help the people with wildfire recovery. I want to highlight the fact that this will reset property taxes to those people who lost their homes, that were permanent residents, and that are rebuilding. And as we all know, the cost of rebuilding a home that was 30 years old today sets a new market value, which is a new assessed value. And in some cases, people's property taxes doubled, if not tripled, from where they were before. And this allows them to apply for relief, and as long as they're in that homestead. If they move or sell it, rent it out, then it resets to the current market value today, tax value. Just saying that in a summary of what this will do.
Right. That sounds very accurate.
And we know there's people waiting on this, and so we're passing it today with an emergency, so it's effective today upon our vote. Good luck to all of you in the tax office.
And the application's already on our website.
That's
Right.
great.
Morgan is very efficient.
Well done,
We asked him
Morgan.
to put it up this morning.
And John
It's there.
is hiding behind that door back there, and he's going to push a button with
Okay.
a press release with
Yeah.
all the information as soon as we, if we're going to say yes, then he can do
Right.
it. Yeah. Should we do it?
Yeah, I'm
All right.
ready. So I make a motion that the chair read the ordinance by title only once.
I'll second that motion. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. An ordinance electing to allow eligible property to be subject to a special assessment pursuant to Chapter 94 Oregon Laws 2024, Senate Bill 1545 in 2024, and declaring an emergency.
All right, Mr. Chair, I move to approve an ordinance to allow eligible properties to be subject to special assessment pursuant to Chapter 94, Oregon Laws 2024, under Senate Bill 1545, Session 2024, and declaring an emergency.
I'll second that motion. Any further discussion? Just to say, Senator Gerard was a big champion of this bill and worked really hard to get this thing through, so thank you for him too. All right, any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, John, push the button.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Nate.
Thank you. Appreciate the assessor's work on all this. I mean, even during when we were trying to get the bill passed, you guys were just champions at the table, so thank you. All right, appreciate it. Okay. Get back through my web of paperwork here. That one's done. Under Community Services, approve amendment number 1 for contract for services with Strategic Economic Development Corporation at $160,000. Another Kelly.
Once again, not Kelly. Once again, a poor substitute. Name is Chris Epley. I'm the Community Services Department Director. Before you for your consideration is our First Amendment to Contract CS 5707-23, which is our contract with the Strategic Economic Development Corporation, known as SEDCOR, who is an entity that provides business attraction and retention services for traded sector businesses in Marion County. This amendment will add $160,000 to our contract, which is the cost of service for a year that we provide to them, bringing the total contract to $320,000 and extending the life of the contract to 30 June 2025. Thank you.
All right, any questions for Chris?
Nope.
We'll take a motion.
All right, I move to approve amendment number 1 to the contract for services with Strategic Economic Development Corporation to add $160,000 for a new contract total of $320,000 and amend reporting deadlines for business retention expansion services retroactive to July 1, 2024 through June 30th, 2025.
I'll second the motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, all right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. All right, our next 3 items, I think Ryan's going to come up. We have 3 amendments to contracts with OHA. We'll do one presentation and then we'll just do a straight-on 3, boom, boom, boom.
Rolling motion.
Yeah. Welcome, Ryan.
All right, sounds good. Good morning. For the record, Ryan Matthews, Administrator with Marion County Health and Human Services, and I am here seeking approval of 3 amendments. And before I get into these, just a little bit of background. The initial contract for our community mental health program, and this funds our behavioral health services that Marion County has as our role of the local mental health authority. That initial contract took a long time to negotiate. What ended up happening was there was sort of a backlog of a bunch of adjustments that that OHA had wanted to make, but it required us executing that initial contract. And so that's why we've sort of got this bottleneck of 3 amendments, coming at one time. Traditionally, we'll kind of get 1 amendment a month is kind of usually the cadence, but there was sort of a backlog of adjustments that they want to make. So first I'll touch on amendment number 2, which adds $1 million in aid and assist funding, giving us a new contract total of $21,864,726.37. And this additional $1 million is due to a new pilot project that Oregon Health Authority has created. We've talked in the past here at board session about the challenges related to aid and assist and the increased capacity that we've seen in community restoration based on some of the policy changes and legal rulings associated with the state hospital, with individuals being released, prior to completing treatment, and having Marion County sort of bear the burden of needing to exercise additional resources to support that and to keep our community safe. So one of the outcomes that came out of sort of that work was to start a pilot program with 6 counties, and Marion County agreed to participate in one of those. And this $1 million is to fund a new team, which would be a qualified mental health associate and a peer support specialist, with the goal of working with the hospital prior to individuals being released. So they would go into Oregon State Hospital, build relationships for several months, and then be more informed and kind of have built a relationship with that person to hopefully allow them to participate in community restoration upon release. And so when we go to the courts and we talk about, we will have a little bit more history on the individuals. We will have sort of been able to provide some assessments, provide some, get a sense of what kind of community resources that they'll need prior to their release. And then we're hoping that additional trust and relationship will allow them to engage with us a bit more and into the community restoration resources that we have. And so this is, and it will have a fixed caseload of 15 to sort of provide kind of more comprehensive wraparound services. And this will also allow us to sort of determine how the outcomes of this particular individuals enrolled in this pilot program end up with compared to sort of the outcomes of our current community restoration, where caseloads are, 50, 60, 70 individuals that they're balancing. So this is a new project. We'll kind of see how this goes. We're in the early stages. We've hired the QMHA and we've done interviews for the peer support, and we've been working with Oregon State Hospital and OHA and the other counties on just kind of like the training regimen and sort of how the program will work, but it currently has not yet been cleared to have us go into the hospital. So that's kind of the next trigger that we're waiting on, is for them to be ready to say, yes, let's do it, let's let us in. So that'll be kind of the next phase.
That's similar to what we do at parole and probation and the prison reach-in, and I know that started back in 14, I think, 13 or 14, and the percentage of people who didn't report before we did the reach-ins was high, and then we started doing the reach-ins. I know this is a different population.
Yeah, but it's similar concept.
We'll see how this works, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Good.
Great. Okay, and then looking at amendment number 3, so this adds $215,309 in civil commitment services funding. And this is due to, in our new contract, there was actually a service element for civil commitment, which had not previously been a specified service element. Within that contract language, and this was one of the things that I think initially gave us pause about accepting that initial contract, was there was a lot of post-commitment services that were in our service element that were different than what we had historically done. Things like paying for guardianships, providing more wraparound services to make sure people are successful. And with that, counties pushed back and said, well, as you're identifying additional requirements for counties, we need additional funding for that. So that was where we were assured that there would be this amendment that would come through to add for additional FTE, because there's sort of a larger role for civil commitment in our new contract. And I know this is a priority area where we're hoping to work at the next legislative session to take down some of the barriers that are currently preventing us from getting people through the civil commitment process. And this is really intended for people who are a danger to themselves or others, and making sure that they can get the inpatient care that they need. There's currently just not a lot of pathways to get people into the hospital. And so I think that this additional funding will help us support that population. And then I know that kind of the next phase is, what legislative fixes do we need to sort of take down some of those barriers and make sure that we can get people into the services that they need for their own safety and for the safety of our community. And then the fourth amendment is adding $663,033.68 for a new contract total of $22,743,069.05. And this is to add funding that is somewhat associated with House Bill 4002, which was the deflection funding. There was an accompanying House bill that was sort of the funding mechanism for that House bill, and it was House Bill 5204. And in that, it contained earmark fundings for community mental health programs to increase funding for jail diversion programs. And this has been part of about a year-long negotiation with Oregon Health Authority, where counties submitted cost estimates to say, you're underfunding this service, the demand has grown, and we really need to get increased funding. And I think knowing that the legislature was making that investment in deflection and realizing that this kind of works alongside it, I mean, it's similar purposes. It's trying to prevent people from going down the criminal justice path rather than getting access to critical behavioral health services that they need if they're out in the community experiencing a mental health crisis, and you need somebody to kind of de-escalate that and to get them connected to resources and provide case management and crisis intervention services. So this was funded. This really bridges a funding gap with our program, and something that we were excited to see. It also added funding to a lot of smaller counties that had habitually really not received this kind of funding at all. It had been primarily rolled out to large counties, and this gave the ability for the state to kind of reset some of those funding allocations without taking away from big counties, to do that. So the additional funding will be well worth it to us. So I know that was a lot, threw a lot at you there, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
I don't have any questions. I'm just reviewing this data set that you forwarded us a couple days ago. The Oregon Judicial Department, I don't know if Commissioner Cameron, you have had a chance to review it, but it's really telling. So I think it's still on the same topic, so I'm just going to say on the record how much Oregon State Hospital is failing our most vulnerable citizens in Oregon, and the data doesn't lie. Since the Mink-Bowman case took effect, which was in September of 2022, the percent of defendants who were found fit to proceed at the end of their commitment to Oregon State Hospital decreased from 59% to 40%. That means they're doing less of a good job in the state hospital for the period of time that they're keeping mentally ill individuals in-house. The monthly number of defendants with commitment terminated without regaining fitness more than doubled to 56.5 per month from 27.8 per month. That means that we have people who are mentally incapacitated, who have committed a crime, who can't stand trial, are released onto the streets at a rate doubling the percent before. It's alarming to me. The monthly number of new felony cases filed within 6 months of a defendant's commitment being terminated increased 33%. That's crazy to me. And then the last here, the monthly number of new misdemeanor cases filed within 6 months of a defendant's commitment being terminated increased 86%. So that means that we have people that are going in the hospital, being released in the community, and in less than 6 months, they're being charged again, and it's an 86% That's almost, I mean, that's astounding numbers.
We would be in big doo-doo if we did that in our parole and probation department.
Well, I just don't know.
Recidivism rate. You know what, and you know what's amazing about this? This isn't our data.
No, this
This is the
comes
state
from
data.
the court's data.
Yeah.
That Oregon State Hospital and the court are working together. I wouldn't say they're working together because Judge Broyles across the street is working very hard against this, rightfully so. But I assume she must have requested this from OJD because it was sent to her originally. And then, Ryan, I appreciate you sending it to us. This data is exactly why we're suing the state hospital.
Yeah. And I think it's things we all felt, but it was a bit anecdotal. It's nice to see it in black
See
and
the
white
data.
with data, because
Yep.
I think that was what we were anticipating would be the outcome when
Right.
the ruling first came down, and we're kind of seeing that the trends are in line with what we expected.
Yeah.
We gotta change it.
Yep.
One way or another.
Yeah, well,
That's
this-
what we want, that's what we want, that's why we're, I gotta be careful, but that's why we're doing what we're doing, is we wanna change, get them to do what they're supposed to do.
Right, yeah. And ultimately, the individuals are not getting the services that they need, and they're not getting
It's
the
harmful.
positive outcomes that we hope for when somebody gets sent to the state hospital to get those critical
harmful.
services, so, yeah.
Ryan, on amendment number 2,
Yeah.
that $1 million is supposed to help up to 15 people, is that right?
It's at a caseload of 15 at a time. So people would churn through that over
Okay.
the span of the contract, but the idea is that you have a really smaller focus and you really kind of wrap enough services around them and you see if that changes some of the outcomes of that data that you're seeing there to see if you're able to better engage. I think it's really, again, it's all theoretical at this point. You know, we'll certainly do our best, and you always want to have optimism that, you know, you try a new model and it'll work. But I think ultimately you're still releasing people that have not completed the critical treatment that they need, and there's just a limit to what the community can do, even with enough wraparound supports.
Sure.
Like we cannot force medicate. We don't always have the kind of residential beds that they may need to live and to take at that level of acuity. So there's still a lot of barriers, but we're hoping that, you know, increased relationships, you know, can at least start, because I know our crisis program can offer a lot of supports to people if they're willing to engage with us. So if we get kind of a higher level of engagement, we still hope that we can get some better outcomes.
Okay. Well, I'm interested, I know, honestly, this program will be successful here because you run an exceptional team. I think it's truly the best in the state, but it's only because they exhaust themselves in every ounce of energy and resource they have available to them to meet the needs. It does, I'm obviously going to support this and I'm going to move forward with it, but it feels to me like it's just another shift in the state's responsibilities into the communities who do not have the funding sustainability. Because if we take this on and we're really good at it, they're going to expect us to keep doing it. And then what happens historically is they take the money away from us and they still expect us to do the work. Yeah. So we'll be watching closely because we don't have $1 million lying around to provide these services unless the state continues to provide it to us.
Absolutely.
All right. You ready for the rolling motion,
Take a
sir?
deep breath.
I know, sorry, I'm so frustrated by
No,
that.
that's
I can't
great. I'm
even.
glad you brought that up.
All right. I move to approve amendment number 2 to the incoming funds intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Health Authority to add $1 million for mental health services, MHS 04, aid and assist client services for a new contract total of $21,864,726.37, retroactive to January 1, 2024 through June 30th, 2025.
I'll second the motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed.
Thanks.
Go ahead.
I move to approve amendment number 3 to the incoming funds intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Health Authority to add $215,309 for MHS 24 civil commitment services for a new contract total of $22,080,035.37, retroactive to January 1, 2024 through June 30th, 2025.
I'll second the motion. Any further discussion?
I just want to say that number really challenged my 5th grade math.
All right. There's 37 pennies in there. All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right.
I move to approve amendment number 4 to the incoming funds intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Health Authority to add $663,033.68 for MHS 09 jail diversion services for a new contract total of $22,743,069.05, retroactive to January 1, 2024 through June 30th, 2025.
I'll second that motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thanks,
Thanks,
Ryan.
Commissioners.
Appreciate it. And I think Wendy's up next. Consider approval of amendment number 10 to the incoming funds intergovernment agreement with the Oregon Health Authority to add $5,152,544.47 for a new contract total of $15,695,703.25. I'll stop there. You can talk about the rest.
Sorry, my feet are dangling. I was trying to lower the chair, but it's okay. Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, I am Wendy Zeker, the Public Health Division Director for Marion County Health and Human Services. I'm here to present for your consideration Amendment 10 in the intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Health Authority. This amendment pertains to the role of the local public health authority in providing and operating public health services for fiscal year 2024-2025. It does align with our approved budget and includes the additional $5,142,554.47. This funding supports various public health programs, including our WIC program, which is Women, Infant, and Children's, which provides benefits to purchase healthy foods, nutrition, focused counseling, breastfeeding guidance, and classes on health topics. It also includes our Safe Drinking Water program, which ensures oversight of community water systems in Marion County, specifically those with 15 or more service connections, used year-round, or 25 or more year-round residents. And public health modernization, which aims to track and prevent the spread of communicable diseases, respond to public health emergencies, and promote the overall health and well-being of Marion County residents. We do anticipate future amendments to award additional carryover funds expected, although these amounts won't be known until we close out fiscal year 2023-2024. This includes some COVID and ARPID funding to support public health services. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about this amendment. Thanks for your consideration.
Good explanation, Wendy. Thank you.
Yeah, haven't had a chance to look at this entire.
It's really big, isn't it?
It is. Usually every year I look at it and I look for the flashy harm reduction words that the state has that are very different than how the commissioners prefer for that to be executed. So I assume you've read this.
Yes,
Okay.
we are not required to do those services, nor will we.
Great. Then I can carry forward.
Okay.
All right.
You ready to make a motion?
Yeah, yes. I move approval of amendment number 10 to the incoming funds intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Health Authority to add $5,152,544.47 for a new contract total of $15,695,703.25 to provide public health services for 14 program elements through June 30th, 2025. PE 01-01, PE 07, PE 13, PE 36, PE 40-01, PE 40-02, PE 40-05, PE 42-04, PE 42-11, PE 42-12, PE 43-01, PE 50, PE 51-01, and PE 73.
Well, I'm tired from all those PE classes. All right. I'll second that motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is juvenile. Consider the ratification of the Marion County Juvenile Employees Association, MCJE, collective bargaining agreement for 24 through 26. Troy, welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
For the record, Troy Gregg, Juvenile Department Director. And I am here bringing before you the MCJEA union contract that has been ratified by their association and bringing it to you for consideration. Just heads up on most of it, some financial impacts through it all, nothing too different from what you've heard from the other unions overall. It's a 4% for this fiscal year and then 3% for the next one. Health insurance contributions increase 100 this year and 100 next year as well. The one difference from others may be the shift differential change that has occurred. There was not a shift differential movement since the contract was originally put in place in 2008. So it's been a while. So the differential increased from 50 cents to $1 per hour, and that's for hours after 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. During the week, and then 24 hours on the weekends for that. Total approximately is 267,423, and PERS is 56,576 impact for a grand total of approximately 323,999. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Questions?
Nope, thanks for doing this.
Yeah, I'm glad we got this done, along with a few others.
Indeed, I think this is the last one for you guys to consider. So.
Yeah.
Well, not necessary. We have one more,
Okay.
Yeah.
but
Sorry to make you hopeful for a second.
that's okay. You know, actually, this year it hasn't been too bad.
Yeah.
You know, usually it's like a really drawn-out process, and we're having to do retroactive things. This year, I would say that the bargaining teams on both sides really came together with the intention of best interest of themselves and the citizens who are paying for them to exist here at heart, and I think that's what we want.
Yep.
At the end of the day.
And I think this is a very kind and generous contract, and appreciate the work that everybody did on both sides of it. My team and the MCJE team worked well together.
Good.
Thank you, Troy. I want to thank all our employees and your staff, as well as the citizens of Marion County that are paying for these services. So, thank you. Okay.
All right, I move the ratification of the Marion County Juvenile Employees Association Collective Bargaining Agreement for 2024 through 2026.
I'll second the motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome very much. I'm surprised we didn't get a song of victory or something.
I literally in my mind was thinking about that. He can't sing every time he comes. I mean, you could, but that'd be a lot for you.
Yeah. Okay, under Public Works, consider approval of a contract for services with Camp Life LLC in the amount of $250,000 for campground management reservation system project through July 23rd, 2029. Way out there, Kevin. Welcome.
Thank you, Commissioners. For the record, Kevin Thompson, Marion County Public Works, a Park Supervisor. Here with the recommendation for approval of the contract for Camp Life LLC. It is a not-to-exceed limit of $250,000 over a term of 5 years. This is for online campground reservation and amenity reservations, if we so choose to go that route. The current situation is we don't have any type of reservation system for our campgrounds. So this would be a great step forward for our program and also for visitors. They'd be allowed to go online and check reservations, or I should say the availability of different reservable locations, campgrounds, amenities, so on. And of course, make that reservation and pay for it online. So it also affects our current system of only cash handling in our parks reservations. And so again, removing that cash handling aspect, getting it to an online, more secure aspect is a net benefit for staff as well. The cost of this program is a $3 per reservation is charged by Camp Life for reservation of campgrounds and of amenities, again, if we go that route. And then we also have the availability of, in the future, if we decide to move forward with having different events held in our parks, such as carnivals or concerts, things like that, that we would pay for. I'm sorry, that we would charge for. This system would also take that into account. They just charge a 3% on that as opposed to a $3 per reservation. Again, currently we don't do events like that, but if we do decide to move forward in the future, this does have that ability to do so. There is no setup fee or a fee to edit as we open more campgrounds and need to fine tune things. All the fees are wrapped up in that $3 per reservation cost. Okay, with that, I will take any questions you have.
No, this is good. It's forward thinking. You know, we've got one campground, right, that's running now. We're not going to implement this until probably next year there. Is that
Correct,
what the plan
yes.
is? Yeah. That's a neat little campground, though.
It is.
We walked it not too long ago down on the Santiam River, North Fork Park. Does it still say State Park on the sign, or is it?
It does because we haven't formalized the actual deed yet. That's in the
I
process
want
right
them to
now.
hurry up. Every time I drive by it, I
It's
think,
like,
come on.
When's it gonna say Marion County? Yeah. And then the sign shop has to get busy, right? Or you already done that?
Not yet, not
Oh,
yet.
okay.
Didn't want to get the cart before the horse here.
All right.
It's only been walking down the road as a horse for 3 years. Like, eventually it'll land, right? It'll stop.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
okay.
Almost there.
We'll take
Yeah,
a motion.
okay. I move to approve the contract for services with Camp Life LLC in the amount of $250,000 for the Campground Management and Reservation System project through July 23rd, 2029.
I'll second the motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow night for the wildfire recovery at the U.S. Forest Service, and then again Monday for our regional North Fork meeting, I believe we have.
Absolutely.
With our partners.
Yes,
All
thank
right.
you.
Thanks, Kevin, for your work.
Thank you.
Lonnie, okay. Consider approval of the engineering and related service contract with David Evans and Associate, Inc. in the amount of $494,498.71 for the North Fork Road improvements through December 31st, 2026.
Good morning. For the record, Lonnie Radke, Public Works.
Chuck Williams, Marion County Public Works.
Yes, and today we're here to talk about North Fork Road, the improvements project, and specifically the engineering contract with the consultant engineers David Evans and Associates. We're doing a lot of work in the North Fork area, and this specific project is analyzing at 3 different locations along North Fork Road to help with a gateway project. You may have heard us talk about this as the kiosk project, the North Fork Improvement Project, but this is now being termed the gateway project.
Okay.
And to give you a little background, I know we're all familiar with the North Fork Road corridor, but for maybe the folks at home, this is a 15-mile corridor that provides access to a number of public and private properties. We have several agencies here with recreational lands, including Marion County Parks with Kevin that we just saw. We have Forest Service, BLM, ODF, the State Forestry, and then we also have a number of private properties here as well. So we have a lot of different users through this corridor. But in the May 15 through September 15 timeframe, we especially have heavier recreational usage. So even before the Beachy Creek fires, we were looking at plans to help manage the parking, the demand, the congestion that is caused by limited parking that is in this area on site at parks, but also on the roads. So we were already looking at safety concerns, specifically with emergency vehicles unable to get through, and just concerns with so many pedestrians and people parking on the roads. There have been plans in place with all the different agencies that I just mentioned, and this funding was achieved through the omnibus bill in an effort to create some kind of a kiosk area, maybe multiple areas. Again, we're now calling it the gateway. So this particular ask today is for a contract for consultants to help us analyze up to 3 potential sites for this entryway gateway facility, and they, at this point, we're not exactly sure what those will include, but we'll be going through those alternatives with you as they develop them. They could include things like parking spaces and parking areas. They will likely include our pay stations that we've just switched to with credit card, pay options, or I guess that's the only way you can pay now. And then other signage, fencing, potentially restrooms, but that's all to be determined. Specifically, David Evans and Associates will be bringing a team that does the survey, the geotech, environmental, hydraulic, stormwater, and traffic analysis, the whole slew of engineering services. And then we will also be coming to the board with a work session to go over those alternatives, and there will be public outreach. The budget for the whole project is approximately $1.6 million, but specifically today, again, the contract is for $494,498.71. We will be doing the preliminary engineering this year, and construction is set to be done by the end of '26. Any questions?
I don't have any questions.
Okay.
One more thing, although I did make a big stink when I was back east recently to USFS about the fact that because they don't actually manage their forests and harvest their timber, we are footing the bill in different ways for their access to recreation. And the gal was like, what do you mean? And I was like, the county road drives to the entry point of every one of your parks. And she was like, oh. And I'm like, used to harvest that timber, we would get a share of it. It was less of a burden on the county. Now we have to go through processes to gain access to federal dollars, which is more extensive and overwhelming and unnecessary. I'm going to continue to champion for them to become return back to timber harvesting parks, so that way maybe they won't burn down so often and we can finally generate more revenue to do these upgrades that are super important and recruit people into the wilderness area with, I think, the way I see it, a safer access. But for now, we're just going to have to limp along.
Yeah, in this corridor, it's a lot of BLM property.
Yep.
In the forest, I'm thinking of the Forest Service property is pretty much Opal Creek, where you can't go in there now because it's a wilderness area, but the BLM property in this area. And you're right, we have to go through and get the FLAP grants, federal, what do they call it? Federal Land Access or something.
Yeah.
What's the P stand for?
Program?
Probably.
Yeah, and I always say this about the North Fork Road. It's probably the nicest maintained road, other than the fires killed it with all the trucks and everything, but probably the nicest maintained road because we get that money, but we have to go after it versus.
Well, it's competitive, so we, aren't always guaranteed.
Yeah,
That's the
right.
challenge here, and they don't seem to quite understand that, although we're going to keep being annoying until they fully absorb it and Congress decides to do something about it.
All right. Anything else? So we're gonna have, what'd you call it? Gateway?
Uh-huh.
Gateway at the end of 2026. Let's see, I drove up there in June of 2014. That's only a 12-year project. Okay. All right. Government moves so quick.
We had some challenges along the way.
I know. Well, and, just different jurisdictions. Okay, I'll be quiet. Go ahead.
All right, I move to approve the engineering and related services contract with David Evans and Associates in the amount of $494,498.71 for North Fork Road improvements through December 31st, 2026.
I'll second the motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Chuck, is
Okay.
this your first time to board session?
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Looks like you're going to be coming back. Usually this is how they introduce you into the talking part, is they bring you, you get to see it, sit up here. So we'll see you again.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Our last item. Commander, you've been so patient.
I think we should have, like every other board session, we should go from the bottom of the alphabet to the top of the alphabet. Yes, just to switch it up so you don't have to stay here all the time for the whole board session.
Consider approval of amendment number 1 to incoming funds intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Department of Corrections to add $1,727,495 for a new contract total of $28,964,319 to provide funding for 6 additional personnel and other expenses related to community corrections through June 30th, 2025. And they don't have pennies in their number.
No pennies. I think my contract specialist did a great job.
That's all you have to say?
Yeah.
No, good morning.
Oh.
Commander Mike Hartford for the record. And yes, I'm here to recommend approval of the amendment of the intergovernmental agreement with the Department of Corrections for incoming grant and aid funding of $1,272,495. These dollars were made available in the most recent legislative session through House Bill 5204, like Ryan spoke about. they designated $16 million for community corrections funding statewide to support supervision services in counties. This $16 million package was an effort to restore some of the $32 million reduction in budget that community corrections received in the 2023 legislative session. Marion County's allocation of these funds is going to help support the Sheriff's Office personnel and supervision services for the nearly 2,700 folks on parole or probation, adults in Marion County. Since these funds weren't included in the Sheriff's Office budget, they will be included on a future supplemental budget update. And with that, I'll answer any questions that you may have.
So I just want to be clear. This is adding 6 new personnel?
Correct. A lot of counties in Oregon suffered a large reduction in their initial grant and aid allocation because of that $32 million reduction. Marion County is a little different.
Okay.
Because our allocation went up, we didn't suffer quite the loss. And so this will add new personnel to our staff.
That's great.
Yeah.
I don't think I could fully process that when we were talking about it before. So this is like you're going to post a recruitment and go after 6 new bodies. That's
Correct.
excellent. I'm glad because we're going to need it come September 2nd.
I agree.
Yeah, it's important work that your department does. Commander, we really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I'm doing a ride-along Friday with Connie and, let's see, was it the 30th, right? No? Wait,
That's
no.
next Friday, a week from this Friday.
That's
It
excellent.
must be the 6th. Wait, where'd it go?
26th.
Oh, I'm on September. Friday, the 26th. Field day with, yeah. I'm meeting them at your spot over there, and I think we're gonna do some canyon visits or something.
That's excellent.
I'm not sure. We've been trying to set this up for a long time, so we have it on the calendar, Friday, the 26th, at 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock.
Yeah, Connie's part of our gender responsive unit that has the all-female caseload. She does great work.
Yeah, and I see her when I work out, and she's an animal.
Take your word.
Okay,
She
well.
works really hard. Yeah, all right.
You ready for a motion?
You bet.
I move to approve amendment number 1 to the incoming funds intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Department of Corrections to add $1,727,495 for a new contract total of $28,964,319 to provide funding for 6 additional personnel and other expenses related to community corrections through June 30th, 2025.
I'll second the motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, all right.
Thank
you for
you.
your
Have a good
patience
day.
today. All right, I think that's all, Brenda. Just checking, that's all, we got it all done. Shoo,
We are not here next week.
an hour and a half, no board session next week. Back on the 7th, I think it is, or what is it?
Scott's
Yeah.
shaking his head yes.
The 7th.
August
We're
7th.
back for a board session on the 7th, yeah. Anything you want to chat about before we say goodbye?
I guess I can just share that I went down to Tampa with the National Association of Counties to do their annual conference, specifically to work on 2 policies, one in Health and Human Services related to prevention funding. The state level, Oregon is underfunded by $750 million for prevention work. Nationally, that number is 25 times. So there's a group of us commissioners across the country that are working hard to educate members of Congress specifically, but also the employees in HHS who kind of manage prevention programs nationally, to explain to them that counties across the country are not a one-size-fits-all system and that they shouldn't write programming and allocation of funding in that manner, because my community here in Marion County is very different than Marion County, Florida, in demographics across the board. And it was pretty interesting at this conference. There was 3 Marion counties present.
Illinois, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And each of us have very, very different communities to serve, and we were able to talk to other commissioners in these agencies about what our needs are, and kind of the goal is to work over the next year to create some resolutions and some policy for Congress to get behind to modify the way prevention funding is designed. And then the second topic is public lands. As the president of the Association of Oregon Counties, I have the privilege of going back and speaking on behalf of public land counties, which every county in Oregon has public lands in it, whether it's timberlands or grazing lands. We're affected kind of in a compound system federally because they have the federal lawsuits that they are constantly navigating from the environmental system. And then locally at the state level, the Habitat Conservation Plan passed. So I was able to go back and provide an education to public land commissioners in other counties across the country about how Oregon is the most unique in the country and describe our system of how timbers are designed and allocation occur, and then talk about the grazing counties that we have over east and the challenges that they face, and do some cross-county comparison with other states. It was a busy, very busy 5 days for me, but invigorating to be in a space with other electeds who are just as frustrated but can't quite see a path forward, and then be a champion of the policies and the advocacy that we produce here in Oregon, and lend it to them and say we can be doing this together at the national level. And that's only starting to grow. In fact, I have several meetings that have come out of that. With your appointment to WIR, a lot of this is going to fall onto your plate. So I'm excited and sorry for you at the same time for what is coming. But I think the time is ripe, frankly, for people to be hearing. The old growth amendment that's coming through USFS right now is being challenged by counties across the country. I was at the table with them talking about some of our challenges, and they're now going to come to Oregon. They weren't originally going to come out here and visit with us, but they are scheduling that conversation so we can talk about how local level leadership and producers, I think is what we're calling them, should be the ones deciding how old growth is managed, it not be this one-size-fits-all policy from the feds again. So anyway, a lot happened in those few days, and now I'm just managing the outcomes of it.
Well, I appreciate your energy and your focus on that area to kind of set me up for a lot of work.
You're welcome.
No, it's important for our state. It's, I think of Marion County. We have two companies that are on the Lynn County side, but a lot of employees work there, businesses that are involved, and they need a supply to do the things that they do and the new products that they're working on, et cetera. And it's a constant struggle to find that supply. Mm-hmm. And you described what's unique is you have these private lands, and I'm reading, all these fires that are going on, and one of the things that's full suppression on these fires to protect private lands and state forest, scenic state forest. They're talking about all this, but I like to describe it to people as if you bought a really nice house, you paid good money for it, and you put it in you're in a neighborhood, and the neighbor next to you just is falling down and has poor electricity and gas leaks or whatever, and his place catches on fire and nobody puts it out, and it burns the whole neighborhood with your nice house. And that's kind of the way it is when you go and look at our forest lands. I love it when you fly, because I've flown a lot from here to California. I don't have to do that too much anymore, but when you look out of the airplane on a clear day, you can see these patches, and you can see these squares of, here's a private square that's within a BLM square, and you can see it on the fire that when we went 2 years ago on the wildfire recovery tour with ONC counties. Mm-hmm. You could see where Ferris Lumber had harvested, replanted, and used the right treatment, and their trees are growing. And then you go to BLM where they harvested, but they can't use the same treatments that the private people do because of federal rules and regulation. And the Scotch broom had just taken over, and there's no way they're ever going to replant
it's suffocating all their
well, they didn't even replant it because You wouldn't, because it's just already grown back with all this stuff. So the way private people manage their land versus federal government, it's just so obvious when you go up there and tour it. And it's even if you're saying, I don't want to cut a tree, how about just growing them?
Yeah.
To reduce the carbon. But it's crazy. So it's going to be a really interesting. Hopefully, when they come out here, we can take some tours on some of that stuff, whether it's BLM or U.S. Forest Service, and then you have BLM, which is O&C counties, and then you have the Forest Service and private and state forest. So you've got all these different entities that are doing what? Growing a tree, and they're important. And right now, a lot of them are on fire. So let's just keep our fingers crossed that there seems like there's a new emphasis on controlling these fires and trying to put them out. So I just noticed on Facebook this morning, I think Elizabeth posted some smoke jumpers that were going into that fire.
In Lane County.
Yeah, there by Kinney Creek.
Yeah,
right behind,
across from the lake.
So appreciate those gals and guys that are out there fighting those things. And we saw that in Yosemite, the firefighting that they do down there when we were down there for WIR. So thank you for going back there. I'm glad I didn't have to face that humidity. Was it pretty humid?
Yes.
Hot?
It was like walking through a sauna for 5 days. I'd come out of the hotel, which, by the way, the AC can't keep up with the heat and humidity, so it was, bearable inside. Then you get outside, and it's literally like just hits you like a door in the face.
You take a shower, and you feel like you just got out of the shower all the time.
Yeah. And every day for like an hour, it like hurricane rains. It's the crazy. I had no idea. I love Oregon. I will never live anywhere other than Oregon. When I came home and got off the plane, it was like I'd just taken a cool shower. Like the difference in air from there to here is just crazy.
Well, I know you had something going on last year, so I went to Austin for the NACO, and it was not any better there. It was like 100 degrees and 100% humidity in Austin.
Next year, this conference, so with these policies I'm working on for prevention, I have to carry next year.
Yeah, where's
it's going to be in Louisiana. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, we can't go to a state that has like a nice summer.
In New Orleans? Or
yeah.
where?
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to it.
I think it's because they get good deals on the hotels.
There's only 15 cities in the country that can handle the capacity of this particular conference is the issue. I asked Matt Chase, the director of NACO, about it because I was like, why don't you ever come to the West? And he was like, well, we could, but Seattle is the only place that can help hold us on the West Coast.
LA can't?
That's just what he said. I personally don't want to go to LA, but maybe they could. We have so many breakouts, and there has to be a conference center within walking distance of all these hotels. I mean, there was almost 3,000 commissioners at this event. In the 2 policy meetings I was in, there was over 500 commissioners. So you have to have rooms that can accommodate those many individuals. That's hard to come by in the conference center, arena. But I think, for me, the reason I'm talking about this is because it's so important to the work that we do here every day. When the state isn't writing us the check, the only other alternative is, there's 2. 1, we raise taxes, which we're not going to do. Or 2, we go and convince the federal government to really engage at the local level and get us the money that they have more of for us to do our jobs the best. And the only way to do that is to tell the story and to be collaborating with other commissioners. And those folks don't come here. Like, I wish they would come here to Oregon and can see our communities, but they just don't.
Yeah.
They only want us to go to them. So flying back there is, it's interesting. It's a different world on the East Coast in policy. But
we're their national park. That's what we are.
I know.
To the people in the East.
I very much appreciate that Oregon is on the map, though. When I come into a room, people are like, oh, you're from Oregon. I'm like, yes, I am.
All right.
All right.
We will
Thanks, everybody.
Adjourn.